Alright, everybody. So today's topic is inspired by my buddy Jason Helms, who is a really good coach. And he came out with a post lately talking about how he doesn't deadlift or squat at all for his leg development in his own training. And he goes on to say, yeah, of course, he doesn't hate them. He doesn't, it's not like he thinks that they're bad or evil or anything. He uses them with his clients. They just don't work out for him, and he doesn't use them. And that's fine, That's absolutely fine. But, of course, that ignited this huge, what do about it? And so I think that, it used to be that no one, I don't know, I would say when I first started lifting, I don't know if this is true, but I feel like a lot of the media, a lot of the articles out there were like, you've got to squat and deadlift because you're not doing that. And I feel like that was a big trend back then. But now I feel like the trend is that, everyone knows how to squat and deadlift and everyone's doing it. Like CrossFit helped us, people got more into powerlifting. So people are doing it now. But now there's this dogma in the other way that's if you don't do that, then there's no way that you're building your legs at all. And that's just not true. It's absolutely possible to build, plenty of size in the legs and strength in the legs, without, squatting or deadlifting. Now, is the kind of strength that you're building going to be the kind of strength that's going to carry over to squatting or deadlifting? Well, not necessarily, because, specificity, it's a totally different movement. But I will say that you can absolutely build plenty of size and plenty of strength in the movement. Again, specificity is king. But without ever having to touch a squat or a deadlift. And there's and the thing too is that people go to this extreme end where they're like, the only thing you got to do is squat, or the only thing you got to do is squat and deadlift. And that's not true either. We have plenty of studies that show that when you have just one exercise, or just a relatively few, a small variety of exercises, that's not good. You need more variety. You need to switch things up. Your body needs to see different stimulus. If you're just doing one exercise over and over, you're going to have a very clear, obvious grading weak points. Versus if you're doing a lot of different leg exercises, then they're all, sort of covering up for each other. At the same time, squats and deadlifts aren't for everybody. Not everyone can do them. Not everyone can do them heavy. I've got clients that, I don't even have them, touch a barbell deadlift for months because they're just not ready for it, really. It's, it's just common sense. You've got to fit the workout to the exerciser, not the other way around. I'll give you an example, my own example. I have always had bad knees for squatting. I'm not saying that squatting does that. That's a myth. I'm not saying that squatting makes my knees bad. And, it's not because I have bad form. Trust me, I know good squat form. It's my living to teach people good squat form half the time. But the point is that I just have, I have a bad right knee, and it's just, it's never really made my squat. I've never really been able to squat very well. I just don't have very good stability, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to go into all of them here. So, my deadlift has always been significantly better than my squat. I pulled 555 with a squat of 405, very, very huge gap. And that's just because of the way I'm built. I'm just built in a way that I suck for squatting, and I can deadlift all day with no issue. Now, at the same time, there's other people that are the opposite. They can squat all the time, but deadlifting will just wreck them for days. That's just, that's you. That's your own physiology. That's how you're built. You have to train for that instead of trying to be someone that you're not. And you can absolutely, again, build a lot of size with, other exercises, with lunges, with leg presses, leg extensions, leg curls. The standard leg press gets demonized a lot because the squat is a better exercise, in general. Builds, more muscle, works through a greater range of motion, but that doesn't mean you can't put on some monster fucking quads by just doing a lot of leg presses and doing a lot of leg extensions. That's sure going to build a lot of size there. And again, you can't take this one-size-fits-all approach to fitness. It's not just, it just doesn't work like that. Everybody's different. Everyone's built differently. You can't just have everyone do the same thing. A really good famous example is Dorian Yates. He talked about how, he had some kind of injury and he couldn't squat for a while, so he just did nothing but leg pressing. It's the same thing for me. I injured my hip abductor It's been a while ago now, honestly, but it still keeps flaring up because I was working a pretty heavy physical labor job, and the issue was that I was carrying 600-pound objects upstairs with a partner, and that's all single leg work, and I was putting all my weight on my left side, and so I pulled a muscle on my left side, and and then I never I just kept making it worse because it was my job. I had to keep doing it, so it got worse and worse and worse, and now I'm just finally starting to recover from it. I haven't squatted really in like a long ass time. I was doing my bulking plan a few months ago, and basically the bulking plan just calls for a crap ton of leg presses and then squats like once every 4 training days or whatever, 3 training days. And I couldn't even really do the squats. I had to cut them out pretty quickly. And then once the leg presses got heavier, I had to cut those out too. And I've gone ahead and since added back in a lot of leg presses, and I have to do them a little bit differently. I have to do them with a very close stance now instead of the wider stance that I'm more used to. But I can still do them again, and I still built a crap ton of size on my quads during that bulk, even though I wasn't really squatting. I was mostly just leg pressing. It's ignorant and silly to pretend that there's just one way to do things, and that's just the way it is. I really don't like squatting that much. I just don't enjoy it. I love deadlifting. I hate squatting. That's me. I'm not saying that you shouldn't squat. I'm not saying that you should deadlift all day like I do. You probably hurt yourself. I'll probably hurt myself sooner or later. That's not anything against you. But the point is, just think differently and just don't be that person who thinks that, again, it's just one size fits all. You have to find something that works for you. If you're a trainer, you have to find something that works for your clients. You can't just say, squat, deadlift, bench press, overhead press, row, pull up, whatever. You can't just give them the same 5 movements that you give everybody. You've got to modify things. You've got to do things differently. You've got to find ways to keep things interesting. You've got to find ways to keep them varied. And at the same time, you've got to find ways to keep them progressing and improving. It's a very fine line. You don't want to be one of those muscle confusion people that's just throwing everything at somebody to see what sticks. And at the same time, you don't want to be that person who just does 3 movements over and over and over and doesn't do anything else. That's going to develop weak points. You've got to train around your weak points. You've got to have variety. And you've got to train a variety of different motions so you can get better. That's all there is to it. So, that is it for today. As always, like, share, comment, tell me what you want to see in future videos. And I will see you guys next time. Good night.